Good morning. George Stephanopoulos has a well-deserved morning off. Here to discuss this standoff between the president and the Congress, we're joined by the chair of the House Oversight Committee, Darrell Issa. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Jake.
I have a lot of questions for you, Mr. Chairman, but first, let's take a quick look at how we got to this point. Just like the movie it was named after, it was fast, furious, and deadly. The operation, U.S. government agents allowed guns to pour across the border into Mexico and attempt to track weapons traffickers and drug cartels. The problem, the agents lost track of 2,000 of those guns, including deadly assault rifles, and 2 of those weapons were found at the murder scene of U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry.
My son was a person that believed in justice, and he believed in telling the truth.
Congress, outraged, launched an investigation. But the Justice Department first denied the program existed. Quote, ATF makes every effort to interdict weapons that have been purchased illegally and prevent their transportation to Mexico. Then later they conceded that statement was not true, and they admitted the program was a colossal mistake.
In fact, it was flawed, fundamentally flawed.
But the questions Republicans still want answered: who authorized the program? And why was Congress initially misled? Which takes us to the standoff. The president says some of his administration's discussions about the program are confidential, so he invoked executive privilege.
The ayes have it.
Meanwhile, Congress is threatening to hold the Attorney General in contempt. And that brings us to today. Congressman Issa, this is a mess. And Democrats say you are not negotiating in good faith. On Tuesday, when you met with the Attorney General, he offered you documents, including some that are not covered by the subpoena, and a briefing. And he said this would satisfy the questions you have. You rejected the deal. Why?
Well, Jake, it's regrettable that we're here. This is not a place I want to be. It's not a place that Brian Terry's mother, Josie, or anyone else wants us to be. This started off about getting answers on behalf of Senator Grassley to how did Brian Terry come to be killed with weapons that we knew about and we helped transport, if you will, to the bad guys. But we got here mostly because after denials, we started getting these things. These are examples of the kind of discovery we got for quite a while. So those 7,600 pages they talk about, you can't rely on them answering questions. One of the problems is last Tuesday, 11th hour, after an exchange of emails, they said, let's have the meeting. I had the meeting. They came with nothing, not even an offer in a form of a piece of paper. What they said orally was, we will brief you. We will then give you the information we believe supports that briefing, but you have to first agree to dismiss your subpoenas and your contempt. We can't do that. You can't play liar's poker when you're looking for who killed somebody, when you're looking into this kind of a crime, and when you're looking into the cover-up. Remember, it was deny, delay, and recuse. That's what we've been dealing with since February 4th of last year.
One of the knocks on you is that you're partisan and that you're blinded by partisanship. Gun walking, as you know, was not invented by the Obama administration. It took place in the Justice Department under President Bush. There was Operation Wide Receiver, the Medrano case, the Hernandez case.
And a Fernandez case, too. There are these other cases, and each one is slightly different.
But why not call before your committee Republicans, Michael Mukasey, the Justice Department, the Attorney General during President Bush's time? Why not call them to get to the heart of the matter, how this all started?
Well, you know, Jake, the 7,600 pages, we've had no problem at all with them voluntarily giving us lots of things to, in the way of recrimination of the previous administration. Our subpoenas cover that information. We've said we want it. The whole point of this thing is a little bit like when you do something wrong and then lie about it as a young person. You can't say, oh, after you get caught, my brother did it too. There were things that we don't approve of, that we think were not well thought out. By the way, that the Bush administration thought were not well thought out. But the point is, we're past that part of the discovery relative to contempt. We know there's a lot of wrong things and we want to get to fixing it. What we're talking about now is when we get lied to, when the American people get lied to, there can't be oversight if there's lying, and there cannot. The Supreme Court has held pretty clearly, there cannot be executive privilege over criminal cover-up or cover-up of a crime. Lying to Congress is a crime. We have every right to see documents to say, did you know, when did you know, what did you know, including even the president.
Let's talk about the president. I understand you're sending a letter to the president tomorrow about his invocation of executive privilege. What are you going to say in that letter?
Jake, better scholars than myself are in fact, have prepared a letter, we'll send it out probably today or tomorrow, that breaks down the points of why the president's executive privilege claim is either overbroad or simply wrong. And our hope is that as to at least a lot of these documents, including the documents often referred to as 1300, that were offered to us in this deal, that at least since those were offered to us, that the president would see, we would see them. If those documents say what Eric Holder says they say, we might in fact dismiss contempt in either case. But I can tell you one thing here. If we get documents that do cast some doubt or allow us to understand this, we'll at least delay contempt and continue the process. We only broke off negotiations when we got a flat refusal to give us information needed for our investigation.
During the Bush administration, President Bush invoked executive privilege at least 4 times. You had no problem with it. In fact, here is you walking out of the chamber of the House during the invocation of the vote to hold some of Bush's aides in contempt. Explain to me why executive privilege was okay for President Bush, but not okay for President Obama.
Well, Jake, I also serve on judiciary. So we saw those, the Conyers executive privilege argument going on, and we saw the whole question of what Congress was trying to get to. And I had some problems with the Bush administration. Attorney General Gonzales and I did not have a good relationship. I thought he ill-served his president, and I said so at the time. There were mistakes made. Ultimately, I respect executive privilege if it's top executives speaking or preparing to the president. But in this case, the president has already said, and the Attorney General under oath has said, they weren't communicating.
But that wasn't what Bush said. As you know, I'm sure the Bush administration argued that executive privilege covered documents within a cabinet agency, not just conversations with the president. He said, this is from you, Casey, in June 2008, the doctrine of executive privilege also encompasses executive branch deliberative communications that do not implicate presidential decision-making. As the Supreme Court has explained, the privilege recognizes the valid need for protection of communications between high government officials and those who advise and assist them in the performance of their manifold duties. So it wasn't just for presidential communications.
Well, if we want to look at the Supreme Court, in Nixon, they made it very clear, even the president and certainly all the agencies cannot hold back information related to covering up criminal activities or talking about them. That's what we're looking for here. We're looking for how the American people were lied to on February 4th, 2011, and 10 months passed before the truth came out from the administration. It's the communication during that 10-month period between an outright lie and lots of other activities that went on, going after whistleblowers, all kinds of things that went on during that 10 months. And when they finally owned up to the fact that, yes, they did let guns walk. It's very narrow what we're looking for under contempt. And Speaker Boehner was very good in this process of saying, let's make sure we only focus contempt on that which we absolutely need and have no chance of getting on any other way. The documents we seek are, by definition, narrow, and there's nowhere else to get them.
Last question for you, Congressman. You seem to suggest Fast and Furious may be part of a deliberate attempt by the administration to make the case for stronger gun laws. Here you are speaking in April at an NRA convention.
They've never answered the question, what were they thinking of? Could it be that what they really were thinking of was, in fact, to use this walking of guns in order to promote an assault weapons ban? Many think so, and they haven't come up with an explanation that would cause any of us not to agree.
You really think that there's a possibility that they were sending guns across the border, not because they were trying to get people in the Mexican drug cartels, not because they were trying to figure out gun trafficking, but because they were trying to push gun control?
2 things quickly. First of all, this was so flawed that you can't believe they expected to actually get criminal prosecutions as a result of it. So the level of flaw, if that's a word, here is huge. But here's the real answer as to gun control. We have emails from people involved in this that are talking about using what they're finding here to support the basically assault weapons ban or greater reporting. So chicken or egg. We don't know which came first. We probably never will. We do know that during this Fast and Furious operation, there were emails in which they're saying we can use this as part of additional reporting or things like assault weapons bans. So the people involved saw the benefit of what they were gathering. Whether or not that was their original purpose, we probably will never know.
Thank you so much for coming in today
Thank
and
you,
sharing
Jake.
your views. And now